several times because I know this takes it takes like several refreshes. Okay. It look yep, we are. All right. Welcome everyone to the 9th episode of the Lucky Charm podcast. I'm your host Leah, and of course I'm joined by Kevin and G, aka the Cartoon Hotspot. All right, let me go bring up the segment cards because the reason is we will be talking about the infamous Love Square in the Miraculous series. um it's just very crazy, that that this that this series literally made this very like when you hear Love Square, you think it's like four different people, right? That's like the perception you have, right? But then when you watch this show, it's the same two people but in different forms. Which is the craziest thing ever. Like, it's just crazy. But yeah, we're gonna go from like the one where it's we're gonna start with the first ship in the Love Square. Or even though I call it the Adrienette Love Square because it is technically because it's still them. But we are going to be tackling the ship Ladrien first. All right, who wants to start for Ladrien? We're crushing on each other.
Why don't you go first, Dee?
No worries. So, Ladrien. Ladrien is the least popular ship in the Love Square. And for good reasons, but also for reasons that aren't quite justifiable. Now, this is a confession. I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but when I first started watching Miraculous Ladybug, Ladrien was my favorite ship. It wasn't LadyNoir, it wasn't Marichat, it wasn't Adrienette, it was Ladrien. And I think I just found that ship so cute. Like you said, they are crushing on each other. I love the Ladrien moments we got in seasons 1 and seasons 2. So I'm kind of blanking out. So we've got the mime. That one moment from the mime where, like, he rolls down his window and Ladybug just like stares at him. That moment was just so cute. I love the moment from Simon Says, where he's like super shy and she's like, hello, and then they're talking about, Adrien's mom, and they have this like really, really weird line, she's got your eyes, but I know that was like a mistranslation on the English dub's part. What other moments do they have? They have that really nice moment in the Gorizilla episode of season 2, and also in the episode Repost. And I think that's all the Ladrien moments I can kind of remember from the top of my head, unless there is more, but they weren't just as as important or eye-catching as the others. Ladrien is the ship where, before the Love Square reversed, that was the one where both of them were mutually pinning after each other, mutually crushing on each other. And so in that way, there isn't really much tension within that ship, not really much drama, and I think that's why a lot of the fandom couldn't really get behind this ship, because it's just kind of the least interesting, it's the least dramatic one. But to me, I really liked the nuances behind this ship, and it might just be just overanalyzing it and picking out straws that aren't really there. But to me, I feel like Ladrien could have been something much more than what we've gotten, but the nuances are still present. So in the sense that Adrien is this perfect guy that everyone looks up and admires to, Ladybug is this perfect superhero that everyone is depending on, and so I can definitely see them kind of, having that mutual understanding of like, oh, we have this expectations, these burdensome expectations placed upon us. I can see why they would like fall for each other in that sense, but again, we didn't really have much interaction other than them just, blushing and crushing on each other. But if we did, I could see why that ship could probably become a bit more popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I can agree with because it's like the least represented, in the like when you think about it, it is the very least represented in the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like because it's like you said, you only mentioned like a few episodes that they kind of show this ship, and it's like I totally agree. It's like it's like it's like you said, Ladybug is like this perfect hero, and then Adrian is like the perfect guy. So it's like it's an interesting where it's like, oh, in these specific, Adrian is pining for Ladybug, right? But he doesn't know it's Marinette. It's all because it's just a very interesting, like, it's just least represented where it's like we can't really get behind it because it's like, oh, it's just the hero pining for the perfect guy, and the perfect guy is pining for the perfect hero, and
Right.
it is very the least dramatic, if anything. It's kind of like, oh, that's cute, they're blushing. Like when you think about it, Marinette is projecting her real self even when she is as Ladybug, when she's around Adrian's presence. So it's like even though as Ladybug, Marinette has, she's more like serious, she gets her head in the game, in order to deal with the akumatized villain. But here she's actually revealing her real self to Adrian. And it's like, and I think I just find it adorable in that sense. It's like, oh, it's like it's very obvious they have a crush on each other. And of course the image I chose, it's like it's very representative of it. Like this ship is just pretty much just them just showing their crush on each other, and I think the subtitle of this ship makes a lot of sense because in the earlier seasons, Adrian did see Marinette just as a friend, so he didn't really see her as more than a friend, because he has like this infatuation with Ladybug, even though he doesn't know it's Marinette. So I think it's I think that's why I think the writers, it's like it's kind of hard to like how can we make nuance of this ship, because it's like, well, the only thing that Marinette as Ladybug can do is like, oh, I'm in the presence of the guy I have a crush on. I think that's probably why they couldn't really think of any other ways to, for this ship to be more nuanced and have more episodes focused on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Kevin, did you want to say something before I kind of jump back in?
Yeah, I was gonna add, like, I understand why this is the least popular of the ship for the fans as well. Nothing really happened, and it's cute and all, to crush on each other at first, but then we just kind of want to see it develop, and not just like, oh, will they or won't they, type of way.
Right. I think what could have, going back to like my point and your point, Leah, about like what could have made the ship a little bit more interesting, because again, we've already established like the nuances are there, but the writers just don't explore it. I can completely see an episode where like Ladybug and Adrian find themselves in a situation and they kind of just have to talk, because they don't really do much talking other than just them blushing at each other and admiring each other. But I feel like, and that's still a lesson to learn, because Ladrien, in a sense, is just the idealized version of each other. They're just idolizing each other, right? So yeah. I think a episode that would have really, really shaken up the dynamics of this ship or strengthen the dynamics will be similar to the episode where Marichat had the balcony scene. And I know we're not talking about Marichat just yet, but in a way, like, oh, they kind of sit down, they kind of really get to understand each other beyond the rose-tinted glass that they've kind of put up for each other. So Adrien is talking about what it's really like being a model, having all of these expectations, because Adrien very much opens up quite easily. Not just to any, like, he opens up quite easily to Marinette, so I don't see why he wouldn't open up easily to Ladybug as well, especially as his civilian form. So I can definitely see him saying, oh yeah, it's really just not that great, all of these expectations, all of these, like, eyes on me, and then Ladybug talking about, like, the insane amount of pressure it is to be a hero, and them kind of understanding that, wow, like, none of us are perfect, and that's okay. And I can see that, like, you know, dynamic being strengthened. It's kind of like a parallel to the Marichat balcony scene where, like, they finally kind of understood each other from that sense because they've never really interacted with each other in the other form.
Yeah, like that's something. If they actually did something like that, it makes a lot of sense. Like,
Right.
you know, from like you could say from Agent's perspective, he thinks Ladybug is perfect. You know, and of course, Marinette in her Ladybug form sees Adrien as perfect. And then, you know, it's like if they actually did an episode where it's like they have to like confront that, like, it's so like I'm facing all this pressure, you know, and high expectation to be perfect, you know, and then they actually learn that, hey, we're not so different, you know, like, because the thing is that during the time that Adrien, you know, with Gabriel, you know, trying to control every aspect of Adrien's life, like Gabriel literally told him, I forgot which episode it was. He's like, you're an aggressed, you know, like he's like, was like, we are high class, you know, we are like a high social status. So you need to, you really need to keep up that front, you know, because and that's the thing in real life as well. If you're like high status or rich, you know, you need to keep a front that you're, you know, that you're perfect, you know, and I think that, you know, if they actually tackled that, I don't know if they ever will, because it's already been 6 seasons, and it's like it didn't really evolve from that. So I'm like, I wish they could have did something, you know, similar, because you know, like the next one, you know, the next ship we're going to talk about after this one, you know, at least that one, they add some nuance to it where they actually have them get to know each other. Like, I kind of wish the Ladrien kind of just went past, oh, I was like, my crush is here, you know, like, like this ship just gives me, like, you know, typical high school stuff, like, oh my gosh, I'm into this guy, I'm into this girl, like, yeah, like, if you know what I mean, like, again, it gave me like that high school, like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm crushing on this person, right? And then the guy is crushing on you, and it's like it kind of gave me those vibes. But I have to say, I think my favorite one, you know, favorite episode of it, representation of it, was like Gorizilla, from what you mentioned, G, because Gorizilla is kind of like you know, like, I think that was like the episode where Gabriel had like his suspicions that his son was Cat Noir. He was not he was not wrong at all. But like Adrien was smart to not transform in front of a crowd of people that was looking up at him while he's falling down the building. So and everything. So I just found that, you know, I kind of wish they would have did something, you know, for the next ship we're gonna talk about and stuff. Any other thoughts, Kevin?
You know, I wish they had an episode where they actually sat down, like, just as those two formed, and like talked it out. I would have loved to have seen that kind of character development where Adrien and Ladybug, they like sit down, they talk talk it out, like talk about their character and whatnot. That would have been great.
Mm-hmm. Because when you think about it, each of the shifts they are learning like they are learning different parts about each other. Even though it's the same two people, they are learning different aspects of each other. So from if the writers would have tackled this one, since this ship is like the least popular, like yeah, they could have went down the route of like something very similar to Marichat, where it's like, but it's them talking about like, oh, it's so hard to keep up this front of being perfect, and that's the thing, like perfectionism is a real thing that like it gets people mentally exhausted to be perfect all the time. And when you think about it, that like I am very surprised that Agent is not mentally exhausted. Like we've seen like Marinette as Ladybug be mentally exhausted to be perfect. Like I'm not sure if you guys noticed that.
I have to tag canon that deep down inside he is, but he hasn't like fully shown it yet.
I agree.
Like because as we know, remember when Marinette lost all the other Miraculouses, we saw her like break down. Like she's like, and she's like, I let this happen. How could I let this happen? Like she let and then as we kind of see in season 6, she's still struggling with the fact that was it a good idea to give away all the Miraculouses? Like you see her struggle, because she's trying to keep up this front of of being perfect, but that's the thing, nobody's perfect. And I'm kind of hoping we see that with Adrien, and then if the writers ever do decide to, it's like take some notes, writers, for Miraculous, please. But any final thoughts for this ship?
I guess what the final thing I would say about this ship is I do quite find that one scene compelling. And it's, I forget. Oh, it's the end of Strike Back when, like you mentioned, Ladybug loses all of the Miraculous and she starts quite literally having a panic attack. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because yes, I really do love that scene because of the dynamic between Adrien and Ladybug, but I also feel like the fandom had a tendency to kind of only narrow down that scene to a shipping moment, when I think it's just so much more than that. I think I find it very interesting that she broke down in front of Adrien and not anyone else. I mean, she did eventually break down in front of Cat Noir in the scene right after it, the balcony scene, but I don't know, I think Adrien just telling her, like, even if this is the only time you're going to trust me, please let it be now, or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact lines, but I find that scene so so interesting, and the fact that it was a Ladrien scene, but at the same time, I think the fandom just only reducing it down to a shipping moment is just kind of it just takes away from the scene, like the love square I have a love-hate relationship with the love square, because on one hand it is quite literally a fundamental part of the show, but on the other hand, it's like it's not the only part of the show, and I feel like some fans do get a bit carried away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I do agree. Like the fans do get very carried away. It's like they're trying to show that in Strike Back, where like Marinette as Ladybug is like breaking down because she's like, oh my gosh, how could I let this happen, right? And and everything. And the thing is, it's like it's the way that Cat Noir was like comforting Ladybug in that episode, to at least like say, hey, it's like we can do this. Remember, it started with the two of us and it will end with the two of us. But then as we all know, that got thrown out the window. If you know what I mean. But But yeah, I do agree with you, G. How about you, Kevin? Any final thoughts for Ladrien?
No, that was pretty much all I needed to say about it.
Okay. All right. Let's do the other side of the coin. Marichat, getting to know each other. Oh my gosh, like I I love what they did with this ship. Like I've grown really fond of this ship, in the Love Square because we get literally like episodes like focused in on this ship. Like I think the very first I would say the first interaction was probably like um Evil
Illustrator?
Illustrator.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the first time they interact, and then like I kind of like how like from that first interaction Marinette's just like like she's annoyed with him because Adrian as Cat Noir, he tends to say a lot of jokes, and she's like this guy like and stuff like it's like she has disdain for him. But then and then he's like, hey, do you want to help a superhero out? Wink wink. And then of course I think the like right after that, I think it was like season 2, Glaciator was kind of like the jump start to this ship where there's like just like I guess you could say there was just like miscommunication in that episode. Like because as we all know, Gabriel is never going to be a father. Horrible father of the year. We can all agree. But he decides, oh yeah, I'm not going to let my son hang out with his friends to get ice cream. and then on the other side of it, Adrian as Cat Noir asks Ladybug, hey, I was like, would you like to join me and stuff? And it's like, I was like, we'll see. And then he took it as like, oh, she probably might come. And I'm like, dude, that didn't sound like a confirmation or anything. Like, I think she was just like being sarcastic, I think. So there was just like the miscommunication this episode for Glaciator for this ship. And then like because and then we see both sides of it, which is great in this episode because we see that Marinette is down because Adrian's horrible of a father Gabriel would not let Adrian hang out with them to get ice cream. Like we get that side, and then we see like Adrian as Cat Noir, like Adrian's not allowed out of the house. Like Adrian may not be allowed out of the house, but Cat Noir is. And then he just goes to some random rooftop and decorates, with rose petals. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. And he's just waiting there. And then, and he's like, oh, I was like, she didn't come. And I'm like, of course not, dude. She didn't confirm to you that she was coming. I'm like, learn to read her words, dude. Like, I'm just like, bro. And then of course we actually see him look like I think at Marinette's like rooftop because she's there, and he actually goes to her. Of course she got a little scared, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, I just don't feel like being alone tonight. Is it alright if I hang out here a bit? And then like I kind of like this is like the groundbreaking moment where he actually is vulnerable as Cat Noir to Marinette, and she's learning about him that like because at first like Marinette, she thinks that Cat Noir is probably just a crush, it's not actual love because the thing is there is a difference between a crush and actual love.
Mm-hmm.
So Marinette didn't really see Cat Noir as like actually in love. That's why it was a deal breaker when she's like, and he's like, oh, it's like I'm actually in love with Ladybug, and she's like, you're what? Like that was like, oh, like that was like an interesting revelation to her because she didn't really take Cat Noir seriously, and then he actually, and then they actually get to talk about, oh, I'm not really good in the love department, and they bond over that. Like they get to know each other because they're both dealing with heartbreak. And I love that they did that in that episode.
I also want to add to that is that I like that they show the vulnerability in Cat Noir because he's generally known as being cocky and confident too. So to see that side of him, that was a very nice character development.
Mm-hmm. And the fact is that he was comfortable as Cat Noir to say that to Marinette of all people. Like, he didn't go to just any random person or any other friend. He went to Marinette. And that's very telling that he feels he can be vulnerable with Marinette, And I find that very interesting. It's an interesting thing. Like I said, the subtitle just makes sense. They get to know each other. It's another side, as I said when we were talking about Ladrien, that they actually get to know each other on their difficulties of dealing with heartbreak. So I think it's like an interesting way to tackle this, because it's like most of the time we see Cat Noir trying to flirt with Ladybug, and but then we see his vulnerable side, and I think showing this vulnerable side, like, it's just very telling. Like I said, he goes to Marinette of all people. Marinette. It's like, you would think he would go to like someone else, but he didn't. He just went to Marinette because he just saw her on the rooftop of her house.
I'm curious, why do you think it was Marinette specifically that he went to?
Well, it kind of slips into the other side of the love square, which is Adrienette. But you know how when Adrienette first meet and Plag is like, looks like you made a friend or something, and he's like, a friend. Technically, Marinette is the second friend he's made in school. And even though up until like from the beginning of the series till Glaciator, they hadn't really spoken much, I don't know, there's just this kind of comfort that Marinette brings to Adrien, whether he knows it or not. And he just, when you just naturally feel safe around someone, but you don't kind of know it, you just always instinctively go to that person. I think that is why he went to Marinette, because as a civilian, yes, he probably would have gone to Marinette, but why would he go to her as a superhero? They have literally hardly ever interacted in that specific form. As far as he's concerned, Marinette kind of has nothing to do with Cat Noir, and they shouldn't really be interacting. Like, they don't really have much to talk about. But the fact that he was like, you know what, I'm not going to go home. I don't want to be alone. Marinette is here. She might, look like she needs company as well. I'm just going to take a chance. And I think it just speaks volumes of the level of comfort that he feels with Marinette. And likewise, Marinette feels a level of comfort that she feels with Cat Noir, which kind of leads me onto my point as to why I love Marichat's dynamic a lot more than Ladrien and certain aspects of the other Love Square ships. Marichat is the one ship where, like, neither of them have any feelings for each other, but they don't know it. I mean, they do have feelings for each other, but in this form, they think they don't have feelings for each other. So this is like the most natural ship, whereby there's no expectations, no need, no desire to be perfect, no need to put up a front, no need to try to impress the other person. It's literally just their most raw and vulnerable self, and that's why it works so well, because they're just friends. And I think it depends on what romance trope everyone loves, to each their own, but I will always be a friends to lover person. I just love that trope, and I think that's what Marichat encapsulates. The fact that there's no expectations whatsoever, they can just talk and not be judged because they don't really have to put on a mask. And I find it really interesting because even though Cat Noir is wearing a physical mask, he doesn't have to put on an emotional mask in front of Marinette in this specific ship. And that's why eventually they grew to kind of fall for each other in episodes such as Glaciator 2.0, I think that's what it's called in season 4, I don't remember the name, and the one in season 5, Elation, and I think there's another Marichat episode, and Where Dad.
Yeah,
Where Dad in season 3. Yeah. yeah, no, but Marichat just being the friend dynamic, friends to lovers dynamic is just very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like it's kind of like when you think about it, like it's like you said, gee, there's no expectations. Like Cat Noir's like, oh, I don't have to like put on like the metaphorical mask. I can actually let my walls down and be vulnerable, you know. And when you think about it, Marinette in her civilian form is learning about Cat Noir. It's like, oh, he's actually being vulnerable with me. Um, and and then when you think about it, like this really culminates, when they fight Glaciator, and you can see that Cat Noir is like furious with her, when they're like fighting the villain, and then like because by the end of the episode, she actually like at least like, okay, I need to be vulnerable with him because he was vulnerable with me even when I'm not in my superhero mask. So she's like, okay, um and she explains that like I don't want to lie to you, and she was a little bit vulnerable even as Ladybug, but she's like, I can't tell you who it is though. So like in a way, she's kind of like she learns a lot about him. Like, okay, so and and I think what was cute, you mentioned the episode Elation, right? Like that cute moment where she's like, I don't care who's under the mask, I'm and they just have this really cute like kiss on the cheek. Like I think it's like Marinette was on the nose and then the cheek, and then it was like, this is some great build up. And I found it adorable. I was just like, oh. but but yeah, like this ship is very solid because we get I think I forgot which episode it was. It was like the episode where Marinette is like, I need to have a guy who is not Adrien so I could practice telling him, like actually saying that I love him, right? And she's like, Cat Noir, come over here, and then he has to play. Um and then she tries to do the speech, and then Cat Noir is just like like Buttercup is like, what? Like he's actually laughing at their antic, like because she's like, I can't say his real name because it's like, that's just gonna give it away. So it's like, yeah, that's understandable, but he's just laughing at like her like code name for this guy that she likes, which is ironically him, but he doesn't know that. but but yeah, I think what they did was just brilliant because like, and then by the end of that episode he's like, okay, he's like, I'm ready, and it's like you said, it's like you could say it's like a friend helping another friend, because Marinette's like, it's like, I need to be sure I don't have feelings for the person that I'm gonna practice with. So they had very, very cute moments. Any thoughts, Kevin?
No, I think that was all I wanted to say, and thank you for answering my question. I was always curious about that, but could never understand why.
Yeah, like because when you think about it, like when you see there's like huge difference with Adrien talking with Nino versus Adrien talking to Marinette. Like if you see all the interactions, Adrien can be vulnerable with Marinette. Meanwhile, with Nino, it's kind of like Nino, like from his interactions with Nino, Nino just tries to cheer him up. Like Adrien can't really be vulnerable, if you know what I mean. Like wouldn't you guys agree? There's like a huge difference from what I've noticed.
Like in terms of Adrien being able to be vulnerable with Marinette compared to when he's vulnerable as Cat Noir.
No, vulnerable with Nino.
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. It honestly just depends on like what he's talking about, because like there are different friends that we have, different best friends, right? But there are some things I wouldn't say to a specific best friend that I would to another best friend. And I think that could be applied as well to Adrien as well. Because in the episode Risk, I think, nobody understood that Adrien didn't really want to go all around the world with Gabriel or whatever, even though everyone else was like, oh my gosh, you should be happy, you're traveling, that's great, you're out of the house. But it was only Marinette that was able to see that Adrien was unhappy, and he was able to confide in her. So yeah, I would agree with you that there are some things he was more comfortable telling Marinette than he does with Nino, and that's completely fine. There are some things Marinette is more comfortable telling Cat Noir and Adrien than she is telling Alia. That's completely okay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because I think that's also another reason why, Cat, Adrien as Cat Noir approached Marinette, because I could probably tell her, she's probably not going to judge me, if I'm being vulnerable, because if you notice that the way that boys and guys interact, it's hard for them to be vulnerable with other guys. Because there's this stigma that they can't really be vulnerable, right? Because they say, oh, that's a feminine thing, or oh, that's a woman thing to be vulnerable, but it clearly shows that maybe Adrien's okay, it's maybe Marinette will be more understanding than if I told Nino, because when you guys agree, it's in society, in most societies, most men can't be vulnerable, to talk about their drama or issues or with other guys, because most guys, it's if they have a guy friend that's down, they try to think of a fast solution, because most men don't want to be dealing with the vulnerable chat and stuff, because that's literally what women do. They say it's a woman thing. It's no, it's it should be all right for a guy to go to another guy, to be vulnerable with, but that could also play into it. um I'm trying to think, was there any, I'm trying to think what's the other Mary Chat episodes. I think can you think of any other Mary Chat episodes, G, at the top of your head?
So we've spoken about Evil Illustrator. There's really not much to talk about Evil Illustrator. We've spoken about Glaciator. Where Dad isn't really much of an important episode. It's just kind of a filler, silly, goofy episode that I wouldn't take too seriously. So we've got Where Dad. We spoke about Glaciator 2.0. Is it called Glaciator 2.0? I think so. But the season 4 episode, because there's one every season. And yeah, we spoke about Elation. And I think that's the only Marichat episodes that there are.
Okay. I would say that also when it comes to to Mary Chat is I think what was weird is that I'm not sure if you saw I'm not sure if you saw Smarty Pants' video about how much he hates Andre the ice cream man. He talks about his criticism for Andre the ice cream man, and then he brought up very good points that he's saying that Cat Noir and Marinette are not meant to be, and he's kind of enforcing his ship of no, it's Ladybug and Cat Noir and Adrien and Marinette. And I'm I kind of just rolled my eyes. I said, dude, they're the same people. It's no offense. But yeah, it's very ironic that Mary Chat episodes are 2 of them are center around Andre the Ice Cream Man, which is, why do you think that is?
honestly, I don't know. Because I don't like Andre the Ice Cream Man. I'm siding with Smarty Pants on that one. I think he's a buffoon. I do not like Andre the Ice Cream Man. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't even think he's needed for a Marichat episode. I think Marichat have a strong enough dynamic on their own to just work without Andre the Ice Cream Man being there. I think they just wanted to add some unnecessary drama, especially in... I mean, every single time that Marichat interact and it's Andre's involved, it's always about the same conflict. Like, Andre gets akumatized because he thinks, like, Marionette should be with Adrien or Cat Noir should be with Ladybug or something. And I'm just like, go away. Stop being involved in kids' love life. That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's literally the same reason he gets akumatized every single time. It was in Glaciator, it was in Glaciator 2, and it was in Elation, like the same exact reason. And I'm just like, okay, move on. But to answer your question, yeah, I honestly don't know. And I don't know because, like, I don't think he needs to be that involved every single episode because Marichat have a strong dynamic to work on their own.
Exactly. Like, don't get me wrong. I hate Andre the Ice Cream Man too. It's like, dude, it's like you sound like a toxic shipper. You know, like it's just weird. It's like because when I watch Smarty Pants video of that, I'm just like, yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's like, dude, why are you? It's like you don't even know these people on a personal level, so why? You know, so but I'm hoping, you know, if we actually get more Marichat and it's like not involving Andre, please. You already did that like 3 times already. We don't need a 4th time or anything. Um but yeah, I do agree. Marichat really stands out. You know, really stands out on its own. Like we don't need like Andre in the episode. You know, like the first Glaciator, that's fine. You know, it's like we get it. That's like his like debut episode. It's like that's fine. But then if you repeat it more times, then like you kind of question the writing. You know. But any other thoughts about Marichat?
Not on my end. I think I need to say what I need to say about that.
Do you guys think we're gonna get another, like, more Marichat content? Because I know that writers did say there's always one every season, but now that Adrienette are together, like, I don't see a point of Marichat interacting.
Yeah, I don't think so because they're together, like officially.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm kind of like there could be a possibility, but at the same time it's like, well, Adrien and Marinette are canonically officially together, so it's like I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure if the writers can come up with any other scenarios, you know, to build up on that. Because, you know, I guess, you know, the main focus of season 6 is like, you know, them like being together now without any like, you know, without Gabriel's like, you know, disruptions or trying to intervene in the relationship, you know. So I'm not sure. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if the writers can come up with something. Because as of right now, I'm not too sure. Like, but yeah. Any other thoughts before we move to the third one?
Nah.
Okay. No other thoughts, Kevin? Kevin?
Nope, no thoughts here.
Okay. All right. Let's do this one. LadyNoir, trust and teamwork. Oh my gosh, like I have to say I love their dynamic when they're in their superhero identities. It's my other favorite ship, you know, in this Love Square. Like it's like a culmination from like when they first meet, you know, in the Origins episode, you know, and like I said, we could also argue in the movie as well because, um, But of course, they end up getting chosen in different aspects, you know, in the TV show and the movie. But but my gosh, like I love their dynamic, you know, like I kind of like how this ship has like their ups and downs. You know, like it shows that their like dynamic is not perfect. And I think that's a good thing to show that like even though like they're supposed to be seen as like, you know, there's high expectations of them because they're superheroes, right? And people put all this pressure on superheroes to be perfect. But with it's like they're slowly, you know, they have their ups, they have their highs and their lows, and I like that they show that, you know, because in most superhero media, you know, whether it's the comics or the actual live action movies, you know, they always put the highs and the lows for the superheroes, and I think that's what I love about this ship.
I love their dynamic so much. Like, they're made for each other and they complete each other, especially in superhero form.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And literally like their dynamic is trust and teamwork. The two T's, I would say, trust and teamwork. Because we've seen the highs, you know, where it's like, hey, Ladybug and Cat Noir work very well together. But at times, you know, especially from what we've seen in like season 2, you know, we can see that there's like lows going on where it's like, Marinette is the one that met Master Fu, but Master Fu's like tells Marinette, you can't tell Cat Noir anything. So Master Fu has to be the one to go to Adrien. And, you know, it kind of causes a weird dynamic, you know, when Master Fu was like their mentor, because Master Fu would tell Marinette everything, you know, but wouldn't have Cat Noir there, you know, you can kind of see the imbalance of like the trust was not there, and then you can slowly see through each like season very specific episodes where it's focused on Lady Noir that the trust is like, you know, like Cat Noir gets very like frustrated that he's like he all these secrets he doesn't know all these secrets, right? And I kind of like what they do with this dynamic.
Me too. I picked up on the part where you said you really love the up and downs with Lady Noir, and I think that's very much important because I love the fact that they don't shy away from like, yes, Ladybug and Cat Noir have feelings for each other, and yes, they work as a team, but it's not always going to be glitter and gold. There are moments where like they've misunderstood each other, where their communication wasn't always the best, where they've had to really learn to trust each other. And I love how we see the natural progression of them going from just strangers working in a team to actually genuine friends. And they even at one point say that they're best friends, even though they don't know each other, at least behind the mask. I mean, they do know each other, but they don't know that they know each other. And I love Lady Noir so much. I love the fact that the whole foundation is built on trust. And I mentioned this in one of my like videos, I can't remember which one, but each love square has a different foundation. Obviously, we've talked about Ladrien. Ladrien is built on, you know, mutual obsession or mutual feelings. Marichat is built on friendship. Lady Noir is built on trust, and then we'll talk about Adrienette when it's the Adrienette's title card. But yeah, Lady Noir built on trust is just very interesting because it's also about learning to trust themselves just as much as it's trusting each other, and that's what I love so much about Lady Noir.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because remember, I think it was like in season 4, you know, like when Ladybug was like calling on other superheroes, like Cat Noir felt like he was being shoved to the side. It's like, oh, Ladybug doesn't need me. And then, you know, that's kind of the dynamic between Lady Noir where he feels frustrated that, oh, what's the point of me like, you know, coming if she's gonna just call on other superheroes? Like, like I really felt him because he's kind of like I really feel for him because he's like, oh, she doesn't need me anymore. She has all these other superheroes to help her, and and in a way it's like, and then he decides to give up, the cat Miraculous temporarily in that episode, because he's like, oh, I'm like he like I understand his frustration. It's like, yeah, because it's like, she's not really giving me, she's not even calling on me to help out, like she's calling on other superheroes, and then it's like, and then the dynamic shifts where he decides, okay, I'm going to renounce my Miraculous, and it's like, just take this to Ladybug and just find another holder, and then we can clearly see Adrien is like in a slump, he's like depressed in a slump, and then you see that on Marinette's side, she's like struggling to like comprehend, oh no, like what am I going to do? Who am I going to choose? To be the to be the new holder of the cat Miraculous, right? And then she's like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So, and then but I kind of like, once Adrien comes up with a new version of himself as Cat Noir, which he goes by Catwalker temporarily in that episode, and he and what's interesting is that like like Marinette as Ladybug, she's like, okay, I'm gonna be firm with him, and she's like lecturing herself. Okay, I'm gonna lay the ground rules and all this and all that. And he appears, and then he just acts just like as he is in his civilian identity, and that catches Ladybug off guard. Like, huh? And then she tries to make a cat pun, and he just says it just like his usual casual Adrian. Oh, it's like, I understood the pun. And she's like, what? You're not gonna laugh? Like, she got off guard. Like, did you guys notice that dynamic shift in that episode?
I did.
Same. I did too.
Like, like we see the what if of what happens when Cat Noir renounces his Miraculous holder and goes by a new identity, and it's like he's basically just acting like himself when he has to be, polite around his dad and Natalie. So it's like the dynamic shifts where Ladybug tries to be like the one who makes the joke, and then she's like, wait, you're not gonna laugh, you're not gonna make a joke, and then and he was just patient, which was so interesting. And then of course at the end of the episode, she's, like Ladybug understood his frustration, and it's like, and she's like, yeah, because I think the reason Ladybug was like, not paying as much attention is because she was learning to balance how to be the guardian, right? Because so that's hard for her to balance, because way to go, Master Fu, you decide to give a teenager the responsibility of being the guardian of the miraculous, of the miracle box, and give that to only one of them and not both of them. So in a way that Cat Noir, it takes him a while to and then he realizes, oh, she just has a lot to balance, because wouldn't you be like wouldn't it be very hard if you were in Marinette's position to balance being the guardian of like very powerful jewelry that gives people powers, and then trying to balance like who you need, for specific to fight specific akumatized villains. So it's like, and on top of that, she has to balance her like civilian life too. So, so so I think it's just it was an interesting what if, where if he like changed his like persona of himself, and that literally made their dynamic go like, whoa, what happened? It's like just Adrien just being himself, whenever he talks to his dad or Natalie. So I think it was an interesting way to explore that. And then Ladybug's like, oh, this dynamic is very weird. I don't know if I can get used to it. And everything. And and what I love, I'm going to reference Strike Back again, man, because that is probably like my favorite like LadyNoir moment,
Same.
where Ladybug goes, it's like you said, Chi, earlier, she goes into a panic attack because she just ended up losing all the other Miraculous. And Cat Noir's like, hey, it's like, we can do this. It's like, we can do this. We'll do it together. And he's like, you're not alone. It's like, like he understands the high stakes. It's like, because that's terrible if your enemy gets a lot of the other Miraculouses. Like, I think that was like the shocking factor of season 4. And stuff, and I just love, and I love how Cat Noir gave her reassurance that like we will get all the Miraculouses back. And then you see the people of Paris literally chanting Ladybug's name, and that gave her the reassurance, hey, okay, we can do this, and everything, and that's what I love about them. Like they really show it a lot. Like there are times where Ladybug does get frustrated with Cat Noir because Cat Noir sometimes doesn't respect boundaries every time he flirts with her. But at least Cat Noir slowly starts to understand, okay, maybe I shouldn't be flirting with her. It's not the right time, especially when they have to deal with an akumatized villain, so it's kind of like when you think about it, he slowly starts to understand that, like, yeah, I can't really be making jokes at the wrong time. He slowly starts to understand that. But yeah, like in the show, I like they really showcase the ship so well. And like would you say this is on the same level of Marichat in terms of popularity? What do you guys think?
Good question. What do you think, Dee?
I think it's more popular than Marichat.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Only because I feel like LadyNoir is the heart and center of the show. And that's not to take away from the other ships. The other ships are just important because they all bring out different dynamics and tell us different things about the characters that we wouldn't know from certain ships and everything. But LadyNoir is the heart and center of the show. It started with them, and so it kind of has to end with them. And I think it's because, like, the reason why it's the most popular one is because it's the one where, like, they don't quite know they are each other and they don't know they love each other. I mean, it's the same with every other dynamic, but it's like the whole premise of this series is built around the reveal. And so the reveal has to happen with LadyNoir de-transforming into Adrienette, and that's why it's so popular. Like, I don't see any other ship being as popular as that because it's, like, I don't know. Like, LadyNoir carries the show because it carries both the action of the series and also the romance aspect of the series.
Yeah. And this is very exemplified also in the movie version too. Like, we can definitely talk about the movie because I think we see more LadyNoir in the movie than, Marinette and Adrien.
Yeah.
Like, would you agree? Like, the pivotal moments, yeah, we'll talk about the movie because the movie is very vital to this ship as well, where, like, from the first time they meet, as superheroes, they're like they have a disdain for each other. Like, they just like movie Cat Noir is just like, oh yeah, you're a watermelon. He just starts insulting her. Like, I'm just like, this is a whole different dynamic from the TV show. and the fact is that they were like fighting, and then he's like, oh, you're gonna be my sidekick. Like, he was not afraid to say that to movie Ladybug. And of course, they're just learning the ropes, and they were dealing with that gargoyle. I think in the movie that was the first thing they dealt with. and then what's funny is that, like, right after, Master Fu approaches them both and they're just arguing, and then like Master Fu's like, you need to work together. and and in the movie they have to learn how to do that, because the first moment they meet, they're just like at each other's throats. Well, well, Cat Noir starts it first, and it slowly evolves, and then of course there's that montage where and then they have to, well, before the montage it was like that fight at the fair, and that's where they learn that, okay, yeah, we have to work together. It can't be one or the other. We have to work together, stronger together, you know and I kind of feel like stronger together is like the slogan of this ship. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Me too.
And because of this, what they actually do is just what they do with the ship is like they amplify it, where they defeat like the criminals, who's the mime and the magician, and then they go through this montage, and then they bond. They slowly start to get into their roles as superheroes. And then the very most pivotal moment was when, like, I think Cat Noir invites Ladybug, thinking that he's in danger. And she's like, oh my gosh, is he okay? Like, she's worried. And then he's like, I'm right here. He reveals, he's like, oh, you scared me. And then I think there was like a moment where they tried to punch, right? They're like learning, like practicing fighting, and then they just get into that, like, oh, it's like you can feel that spark was there, and everything. And then of course another pivotal is when they sing Stronger Together, where he invites her to like this empty theater and he just plays a piano, and then they get into like this beautiful choreography music of the song Stronger Together. And that's like the most pivotal part of this like ship, where they're like they're slowly realizing, they're slowly realizing they're falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I love what they did in the movie. And then they do this cute little, like, ballroom dance on the clouds and all that. And then Ladybug actually stops herself and she's like, I'm sorry. Like she's going and like, my heart is already like, it's kind of like she's like, I don't want to say that I love you, but she knows it's there. Like in IRL, when you feel you have this spark with someone, and you just click right away. But she's like trying to like, no, I'm in love with someone else, right? and I have to say that part was heartbreaking to see. And then like Cat Noir was just heartbroken that she rejected him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like and everything. But what did you guys think of their dynamic in the movie?
I loved it. Writers take note.
How about you, G?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you've said. I absolutely love the dynamic of them in the movie. It's obviously just not the same as the series, because the series is 6 seasons. So we've had the luxury of kind of seeing the ups and the downs and all those great moments. But I think for what it's worth, the movie does condense it in a way that doesn't do a disservice to the ship, because they did, like you said, they started off as kind of butting heads. They didn't quite get along with each other. Ladybug found him irritating, and Cat Noir kind of found Ladybug pathetic, called her a watermelon and everything, but they learned to, like, work together. And I just love the nuances, because it's a bit different in the series. I think I love the nuances because Cat Noir falls for Ladybug because she gives him an escape from his, like, really terrible life. And Ladybug falls for Cat Noir in the movie because he's the one person, like, she doesn't have to kind of hide from, and just kind of be herself unapologetically. And so when she realizes she's slowly falling for him, she's like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening, because, like, this wasn't supposed to happen in general.
Yeah.
And the whole song about them being stronger together, and yeah, I love it. I love the dynamic so much. Yeah.
Yeah, like LadyNoir, you could say that like they keep like the core aspects of LadyNoir from the show into the movie, where they where they craft it beautifully, where it doesn't lose the heart of the ship, from the TV show. It's like you said, G, that LadyNoir is the heart. It is the ship. It's the actual main ship that's the heart of the show, and they craft it very beautifully for the movie version too, where it's like we don't get as much moments of like like with Marichat or Ladrien in the movie at all. Like nothing about that. We just see the two ships of Adrienette and LadyNoir. And then because one thing that that the movie gave us that the show has not done is the reveal. Like, you gotta admit, the reveal was great in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Like, because you know how like it's like you mentioned earlier, G, that like we've been waiting for in the TV show for the actual official, quote unquote, official reveal, where they reveal themselves to each other, de-transforming in front of each other. We've seen like what ifs episodes, but it's like I don't count those because those get erased anyways, according to miraculous TV show logic. But the movie actually gave us that, and I think it was done in the most logical way that they could. Because I know we talked about this in the previous, in the previous episode about when we reviewed the miraculous movie, that the reveal was like she's wearing her her dress is like ladybug themed and stuff, and she's not wearing a mask. And what she does is take the mask off Adrienne's face and puts it on herself, and just without any hesitation just reveals herself to be Ladybug. Like, she called him Cat Noir because she accidentally found out because Gabriel was like as Hawkmoth was like hurting Cat Noir, and then Gabriel stopped himself when he saw that he was hurting his son Adrien, and then that's how she found out. And I think with how they did with the reveal was just perfect in the movie. And I don't know when they're gonna do the reveal in the TV show, but I think in the movie they did it perfectly.
I think it's just hard to top that, to be honest.
Yeah, like I love their formal clothes, and during that like masquerade ball they had, I'm like, how come they don't have that in the TV show? I was wondering about that. Like it was just to me it was just perfection, because like like I think it was like very intentional that Marinette's like, you know what, I'm gonna design my dress to be a ladybug, to reveal herself to Adrien, who she knows is Cat Noir. But I think Adrien was unaware that that Marinette knew he was Cat Noir. And which pretty much, I love the detail when she said Cat Noir, he was like shocked.
Yes.
And I love that detail because they were consistent in that writing, because if you remember, Gabriel found out his son was Cat Noir, because once that part, like half of his mask was chipped off because of his dad stopped himself. He said Adrien, and then Marinette like actually got up, and that's how she found out. And Adrien had no idea that Marinette found out. So I love that extra detail that they did. And of course, after the reveal in the movie, they actually kiss, which is like the cherry on the top.
Oh, and I loved every moment of that. It was like, finally, they did it.
After 10 years.
Right? It's like, I was like, it's like, because you gotta give it to Jeremy Zag. He knew how to portray Lady Noir. Like Lady Noir, I have to say, is like I love their portrayal. You know, it's like even though it's condensed, like it still has the heart of the ship. You know, because from what we've seen in in the TV show, they have their highs and their lows, and we kind of see that in the movie because when they first start out, they didn't really know how to use their like weapons. Like, did you see how like Ladybug was struggling with her yo-yo
Oh
because her
yeah, for
yo-yo had
sure.
sentience? Her yo-yo had sentience in the movie, and she's like she didn't know how to handle it. um, which I found an interesting touch, and I'm not sure if Cat Noir struggled with his like using his crowbar. I guess a bar. Is it a crowbar or is it like what do you call that? That his weapon.
His staff?
I guess it's a bar staff. I guess.
Yeah, I have no idea actually.
Like, I don't know the term. I'm almost like I know he's had that weapon. I'm like, did he know how to use it already? Like I don't remember if he struggled using it. Um, I don't think he had any struggle. I think it was more like Ladybug because, like I said, her yo-yo had sentience, and that thing was just moving on its own, and she didn't know how to control it. Um, um, and of course, when you think about it, I think they showed the highs and lows pretty well in the movie too for Lady Noir. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
Me too.
Because the very low was when they were fighting Hawkmoth, and Hawkmoth, my gosh, he's a lot better in the movie than the TV
Yeah,
show.
oh for sure.
And he showed an actual threat in the movie, and the stakes were high, and the fact is that because Cat Noir was like, he was like his heart wasn't in the battle because his heart was in turmoil, in heartbreak. So that's
Mhm.
why he impulsively decided to confront Hawkmoth, by himself. But unfortunately, that made him get knocked out, knocked him unconscious, from the impact. And and Ladybug had to take the reins, but Hawkmoth just took her earrings so easily. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, Gabriel from the TV show, you need to take notes. This version of you is like a lot better than you in the show. But my gosh, like like Lady Noir is very present, and what I love is that even after Hawkmoth took Ladybug's earrings, and Marinette's like, I need Ladybug, and then she's like, you don't need her. You just need to dig deep into yourself and just and be that person that I see you as. Like she kind of gives her the encouragement, and she saves Cat Noir as her civilian identity. Um, and I think that's just extraordinary to showcase that. Um, because I don't think we've seen like a civilian, like civilian save the superhero in the show when it comes to Lady Noir. If it's like Marinette saving Adrian, I don't think we've seen that in the show. Well,
Yeah, not that I remember. No, I don't. Unless I don't remember, I haven't seen. Yeah, I don't think we've seen that.
yeah, so I think that's what why the movie was so compelling and why a lot of Miraculous fans love the movie, because we actually see even though it was condensed, we still saw the heart of the series in the movie, and I have to say they did a pretty good job in just within like the restrictions of the animated movie length, because in the TV show we get to see the highs and lows, and I think just for like an animated movie length they did a pretty decent job with still keeping the heart of Lady Noir.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there any other points you guys want to talk about for Lady Noir?
No, I think that was all I needed to say about that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right, let's go to the actual heart and origin of the love square. Adrienette, friends to lovers. The the whole origin of all four of the ships in this complicated love square. Ah, oh my gosh, like I have to say what I love is that like in the TV show, what I love about it is that their first meeting didn't really go well because we kind of see like the backstory of like Marinette dreads going to school because she's like, oh, I'm probably going to be in the same class as Chloe for the last 4 years. And like she's dreading her first day, right? Like back to school. And then like we see like Adrien, like, just actually wanting to go to school and not be homeschooled. And we see their attempts of Master Fu testing them, because as we know in the Origins episode, Master Fu decided to to put out a test to see who would save him or help him up. And those two people ended up being Marinette and Adrien, respectively. And I think I think for what they did for Origins, like because Adrien, because Chloe decided to do another bully jerk move to put chewing gum on Marinette's seat, and Adrien, like when Marinette comes in, she thinks it was Adrien that did it, and then she started to get very judgmental, but of course we get that, context and derision as to why she hates pranks. But we see Adrien like is like, I was actually just trying to get the chewing, like he was actually trying to tell her that I was just trying to get the chewing gum off. And I think, as we all know, the Origins episode part 2 has the infamous in the rain scene, as people like to call it, or the umbrella scene, where Adrien explains to Marinette, that like, this is also new to me, like, and I kind of like how he offers an umbrella to her, and you can clearly see that like Marinette's like like you can just see her heart like just pumping very fast, like like she's like her heart's like going like beating so fast, and she's like, oh, um and I think what they did for like I think we can all agree, I think the umbrella scene, I think nothing has been able to top the umbrella scene for Adrienette. Wouldn't you guys agree?
100%.
Oh yeah.
It's sad to say because the umbrella scene is the very, very first Adrienette interaction in this series, and nothing can top that. But at the same time, like the umbrella scene is it's just so beautiful. It's so beautifully crafted, and it's crazy to think that's the first interaction, but the first interaction is just so well done.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the symbolism behind the umbrella scene too.
Mm-hmm.
We should talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with Adrienette, there's a lot of symbolism.
Yeah, go for it, G.
Oh, well, but Kevin mentioned symbolism, so I feel like you wanted to take the... And then I'll jump in.
Yeah, because the symbolism is like them being together. Like, you ever see like, two people walking under an umbrella together. It shows them being very close and together. So I think the way they did it is just very well done.
For sure. For me, the symbolism behind the Adrienette umbrella scene is one, the actual rain, the fact that it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
And rain is just a sign of like vulnerability and having to like, huddle up close with somebody. I love the fact that like they are just two completely two complete strangers, and Adrien just has no business really opening up to Marinette, someone he literally just met a couple of hours ago. But yet he finds it so easy to kind of tell her, oh yeah, I've literally never been to school, I've never done this before, it's all new to me. He's just so vulnerable with her, and I think that's what makes her fall for him. The fact that somebody was so trusting to be vulnerable with someone that you just met. It kind of feels like an honor. Like, I'd be honored if someone just met me and they, you know, decided to be vulnerable with me. There's a difference between trauma dumping and being vulnerable, but there's a great like balance there with the umbrella scene. And in the moment he just hands her the umbrella, which is kind of a sign of like, you can stay under my umbrella, you are under my like care, we are friends now, blah blah blah, I trust you. What stays here, what is said here stays here. And I guess that's just why she fell for him, and why Adrien fell for her as well, even though he didn't realize it at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like, I love all the points that you both made, that like there is very much symbolism. And what I love is that the cherry on the top is just Master Fu's just like right there, just witnessing it. And he's like, and then you see Waze like saying, excellent choice, Master. As like, those two are made for each other. Like he's the one that like, yeah, I brought you two together, like type thing. And I think that was like an extra cherry on the top, because Master Fu can definitely see your chemistry, and 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 since we are on the topic of talking about the umbrella scene, we have to talk about the music. The music was just very flawless and very beautiful, very mystifying. Like what did you guys think of the music in that scene?
I loved it.
It's for the umbrella. Oh my gosh, it's literally my favorite ever composed song for Miraculous Ladybug. I use it all the times in my background music for my videos. I love it. I love it so much. I'm not a musical genius whatsoever. So somebody else would probably have to analyze, what was put into the music, like the beats, the tempo, the piano keys, whatsoever. But I love the calming effect of the In the Rain. I think it very much encapsulates the entire mood, the entire vibe of the umbrella scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's crazy that they haven't really used this music in other episodes. And I like how, like, I find it interesting that someone brought up, like, it's so sad that they don't use In the Rain, like, the music for it for other episodes. I'm like, that's a good point. It's like,
I think they do. I think they do use it, which is kind of where I disagree. I think because In the Rain is so special to the umbrella scene, I can't picture it being used for any other scene. They used it a couple of times in season 5. They used it for, what's that episode? Jubilation. That scene with like Ladybug and Cat Noir, and they were like in their dream world of like having kids and everything, and then they realize they're in the dream and they have to snap out of it. They use it then. They also use it when Marinette realizes she has feelings for Cat Noir in the episode, like right after it, where Adrien and Marinette and Kagami and Luca go to the museum, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's a catastrophe, like I've fallen for Cat Noir. They use it then. And I think there's another time they use it. Because I feel like by that time we're just like, okay, you're overusing it. It's lost its meaning.
Like, did they use it in the? I think it was like Mr. Pigeon 72, because they had like a umbrella scene again, but it was like different.
I think I don't think they used it then.
Oh, okay. I wasn't too sure because I know they had that other umbrella scene where it's like very different from the Origins one, so I wasn't sure.
They use a rendition of the Miraculous intro, like the slowed piano version of the Miraculous opening for that scene.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
which I equally love, by the way. I also love the piano version of the Miraculous intro.
Yeah, like yeah, the umbrella scene is just so special, because whenever if you ask any Miraculous fan, what's your favorite Adrienette moment? Most of the time, most people are going to say the umbrella scene. like it just has like this mystifying effect on your audience, like when you go back and watch it, it's like you still feel the atmosphere, you feel the vibe, you feel like you can see that Adrien and Marinette are like, like they have like this intimate moment where of course they start out as friends, even though Plag just says looks like we have a couple of lovebirds. It's like it's not love, she's just a friend. um and on that topic, we need to discuss the Adrienette thing, the typical phrase, she's just a friend. What are you guys like thoughts on that? Every time they said it.
So what was the question again? I didn't quite catch it.
Okay, the question is let's get to the heart of like before they actually become a couple. You know how every time they always said the phrase she's just a friend or he's just a friend. Let's talk about that.
That's just the excuse that they use just because they don't want to fully admit it yet. I'm saying that half jokingly, but I know it's like a very common trope too.
Like every time I heard Adrien say it, I'm just like, bro,
He's always the culprit. Like, I've heard Adrien say it more than Marinette. I think Marinette has only just said it like once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
Adrien has said it at least 10 times.
It's just funny because it's like, dude, stop being so oblivious or dense. Like, stop saying that. like I think it literally got to a point where I think it was like determination, where Kagami clearly had to tell Adrien, go ask Marinette out. It's obvious you have a thing for her. No, she's just a friend. I said, Kagami gonna be setting you straight, boy.
Exactly.
Like Kagami can clearly see it, and I love I don't remember the phrase she says to him, but like she brings up a good point where it's like, because when you think about it, like Kagami clearly sees that Adrien behaves differently when it comes to Like she did the comparison that like you never showed that kind of behavior when we were dating, right? And she noticed it right away as soon as like Adrien was just interacting with Marinette. And Kagami can clearly see, oh, this boy's got it bad for like Kagami clearly sees it, and she's like, she's like, you're gonna get asked Marinette out, and he's like, why? Like, and he's so oblivious. And then I think Luca and Kagami had this conversation where Kagami's like, it's like Adrien doesn't realize that his feelings for Marinette are love, and then Luca explains that Adrien is loved by everyone and everybody loves him, and he's stuck in this jungle of love. He can't read the signals Marinette sends him. And I think and I believe Luca was right on the money about that. Like Adrien, like since he's loved by everybody, he can't really distinguish when someone actually has a thing for him. And 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 I have to agree with Luca's like claims, because I think that's true.
Yeah, I know it's just a very common writing trope too. Like, when somebody's pressing on someone really hard and they desperately try to play it off and, oh, but they're just a friend.
Hmm. I think my favorite part was like, I think it was in the Shanghai special, and literally like Marinette's like great uncle was literally saying, you and your boyfriend, oh, he's just a friend. Like they both say it at the same time, that they're just I think that's like my favorite part because her Marinette's great uncle assumed they were a thing.
There's no escaping it.
Like literally, but what was your like reaction every time you heard Adrian say it, G, in the show?
What, she's just a friend?
Mm-hmm.
The first couple of times it was like quite funny. Then later on, I was just kind of like, "Boy, wake up, wake!" Especially, I don't remember. I don't know if he says it a lot in season 4. But specifically the times where like they were genuinely just getting like super super close. Like they were transitioning from just being classmates to being like genuine friends, and she'd be like, "Oh, she's just a friend." And I'm just like, okay, if you have to keep telling yourself that all the time, maybe she's not just a friend.
Yeah, like it's just like I think what I know we discussed this, G, when we did the Miraculous World specials, the first 4.
Yeah.
Adrienette, I have to say, is probably the focal point of the first one. We get those moments, and I think it's like very, very like the very focus of it, of the New York special, because we literally get a scene where I think they're like on a rooftop and they're like I think with like all those teenagers, I think, who were having a party on the rooftop or something. And then Alia's like, I think it was like Aeon and Jess. Like Aeon's like, those two are made for each other. And then Jess is like, seriously? And then Jess can clearly see that okay, yeah, these two have very huge chemistry, and then literally Alia decides to request to Jess to play the actual song they danced at Chloe's party in season 2. And it was like a guitar rendition of it. And I think when they did that dance, they're just hugging each other, and like, oh my gosh, I love this reference from season 2 in that special. I think it was adorable, that they actually floated up all the way, like, and they have the moon in the background, and they actually just like, they're just holding on to each other, and then just like, they're just pretending they're ballroom dancing in the air. But what did you guys think of that scene in the New York special?
Which scene was it?
When they're on the rooftop with all those other teenagers, and then they eat the hot dog, and then Adrian and Marinette float up all the way into the sky. And then like Jess actually plays the rendition of that song that they danced to at Chloe's party in season 2.
A part of it broke up. So what went up into the sky now?
Marinette and Adrian.
Oh, okay.
Like, what did you guys think of that scene?
I have to admit, I have to go back and watch it now because it's been a bit.
You're like, I don't remember this.
I don't remember that scene.
I love that. That's crazy because that's probably one of the fan favorite Adrienette scenes, like top 10 Miraculous Ladybug scenes. So
Yes.
Remembering it is actually really hilarious and interesting at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's and of course, like, since I talked about that scene in the New York special, we need to go to Despair Bear in season 2. My gosh, when they dance together. Oh my gosh, I found that scene very adorable. When I first saw it in the teaser trailer, I'm like, oh, they're dancing, they're ballroom dancing together. Like literally the Adrienette fan in me was like, oh, my Adrienette food.
Adrienette food.
Like I say this about whenever I get Sonami content, because I get a lot of Sonami food, like Sonic artists, and I say the same thing for like Adrienette. It's like, oh yeah, this is my food. um But what did you guys think of that dance scene in Despair Bear with Marinette and Adrienne?
I
It's
thought it,
one of my favorite scenes.
yeah, I thought it was very cute.
I kind of like how Alia was being the wing woman and she just like changed her hand positions during in the mid of them dancing, and then they're just both looking at her like, "Girl, what are you doing?" like they were just so caught off guard. It was the most hilarious thing. um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, like I know with like I'm just wondering, is there any other Adrienette moments that you guys liked in the series? It can be from any of the seasons.
I mean, I liked when they actually kissed in the movie. It was like the moment the fans were waiting for.
Yeah, like it's like the movie gave us what the TV show didn't. When you think about it, like because I know, G, you mentioned it. I think when you did your Revolution review of season 5, and then I think you put in your title of it as like, we finally got a kiss, but at what cost?
Oh yeah.
um like in the TV show, that was heartbreaking, man. I'm just like, a goodbye kiss is so sad. Like, because I remember, when they actually started dating, it was hard for them to kiss. Like, did you notice, like, when they try to kiss, they just back away? Like, they just couldn't get the kissing down. And literally, like, their classmates are just looking at them, and Rose has to, like, I was like, how can they still get it wrong? And then Alia's like, with these two, it's very complicated. And 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 of course Rose decides to confront them, and then she's like, "You two need to kiss, right?" And it's like, "If you don't, I will kiss you both." And I'm like, "Rose, don't say that." Like, but then and then Agent's like, "We're just waiting for the right time." And then you just see Agent and Marinette just being so corny with each other, and their classmates are just like, they're just like shaking their heads at it, like, oh. Like, what was your guys' reaction to that scene in season 5?
Wow, there are a lot of. I think it was definitely the least interesting Adrienette scene, which is kind
Yeah,
of.
I have to agree. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Gee.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I know. I feel like there have been stronger Adrienette scenes, especially in season 5. For example, the scene in Protection where Adrien, makes an entire date for her, a video game date at his backyard, and it's just so cute. And I don't know, there are other scenes that are better in season 5 of for Adrienette. So I didn't really pay much attention to that one specific scene.
Like that scene was so corny in Collusion. It was so corny and cheesy. Like, even their friends were just like shaking their heads at it. They're like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh gosh, how is this so difficult?" You know, and then, do you want to know what's? I forgot. I think it was Protection. Literally, their friends are like, "Okay, let's set up the scenario for you two to kiss." Like. And then Mark and Nathaniel are explaining their plan through a manga, I guess, like, scripting they made up. And it was so cringe when I watched that scene. I'm just like, what am I looking at? And then they're just so passionate about this plan to work. And I'm just like, I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, you can't. And what I love in Protection is that Adrian's like, you know what? It's like he realizes that it's Marinette, she's not comfortable showing affection in front of their friends or in public. So he actually caters to her, for her to open up and be, more vulnerable and open, so that's why he ended up setting up that, private date at his house in the backyard, which of course is very, which I will say it's a green flag. because it's like he understands her situation, that she's like that she's very nervous. You know, like there's some people, you know, when they first get into a relationship, it's, you know, sometimes it's hard for them to show affection in public, you know, because there are people that are like that, you know. And Adrien understood that, so he actually decided to go out of his way to do that for Marinette. And I think that was just like, Adrien is a green flag boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like he understood where she was coming from. And I have to say, Derision, like, I love the ending of that episode. Like, once Adrien got the full picture, you know, once he learned that Kim actually helped Chloe prank Marinette last year, like, he goes full on protection boyfriend mode in that episode. Like, did you notice that when he, even as Cat Noir, he was ready to cataclysm Kim? I'm like, I was shocked, of all things. like, I was very shocked. He was like, of course he was impulsive like he usually is, but he did not hesitate at all. And I was shocked he was actually going to cataclysm Kim, even when he was akumatized. I'm like, whoa. like that part threw me off. I was like, whoa. And everything, but I like, though, what Adrien says to Marinette before he goes to Chloe to break off his friendship with Chloe. He's like, I love their communication in that scene. I think their communication was spot on, where Marinette's like, I don't know, it's like, even though we're together, I'm still scared, you know, like she actually is vulnerable, you know, telling him this stuff. And he's like, I'm scared too. I'm afraid of like hurting you, like someone else hurting you, losing you, and even if it's me hurting you. So, and then he's like, and I love that, like, we can figure it out together. And I'm like, green flag everywhere. Like, it's just green flag, man. Like, I was just like, this communication was spot on. And I just loved the ending of that episode, you know, where he and Marinette just talk. And it's like, that's great communication, because in order to have a healthy relationship, you need to communicate. Communication is very key. And I have to say, it's a 10 out of 10 on Adrien's part, you know, that he's communicating his insecurity too, that like, I'm afraid of losing you, you know, I'm afraid of someone hurting you, you know. So like, that scene was just like done so well, in my opinion. It's like another one of my favorite Adrienette moments.
I agree. Like,
I agree too.
Even though I don't like that episode anymore as much, I think I really, really like that ending scene of Adrienette, because it just shows that as teenagers, they are so mature to have that conversation. And like you said, green flag of a boyfriend. The fact that he's the one leading the conversations, like, I'm also afraid. But you don't have to kind of figure it out together. This is new to both of us. And like, this is very much our first major relationship. So we're going to get some things wrong, but we're also going to get like a lot of things right as well. But as long as we do it together, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Like, and that's true in real life. In order to have a healthy and serious relationship, both individuals need to make that conscious choice to communicate, you know, their concerns, their issues, you know, to each other. And I love how they did that in that episode, you know. And I was like, green flag. I was like, this is how you communicate. You know, like, because, you know, in the beginning, like, we see like Marinette, like, in Derision having like a panic attack, and she had to like dig deep into why she was having a panic attack. And of course, you know, she didn't want to worry Adrien. and that's normal in a relationship, that like sometimes there's just some things you can't really tell your partner, right? Because literally when you think about it, Marinette never told Adrien that Kim helped Chloe prank her last year. It was literally Kim himself had to tell Adrien and Undine, and that's how Adrien found out. So and stuff. I'm trying to think what's my other favorite Adrienette moments. Trying to think. um, I think what was I think how about let's talk about the goodbye kiss. What was your guys' thoughts on that?
The airport kiss where they kissing at the airport.
Yeah, when they were like it was like a sad goodbye kiss.
It was like it felt like a bittersweet ending, so to say. It's like, yeah, Adrien has to leave, and they get their kiss, but at the same time, the kiss is sweet, and obviously we know they'll be back together eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it was a very bittersweet moment. If it wasn't for the fact that it literally got leaked months before, I think I would have been even more like surprised that it happened. But that being the moment where they like the one time they're able to kiss is the time that they're being separated. It's just something about it is just very bittersweet.
Yeah, because remember when they actually started dating, I guess in the mid of like season 5, like they kept saying we're just waiting for the right time. It's like, well, that part was just really sad because they were waiting for the right time to kiss. And it's like, well, they had to take that chance because they weren't sure if they were going to see each other, Yeah, way to go, Gabriel.
Yeah, way to go, Gabriel, indeed.
But I found that like seeing like the only hilarious thing in that scene is just Marinette just gets on the airport landing area. And I was like, how did she do that? Like, and you see like the dude's like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Like he's chasing her down. It's so funny. Like that part was just like, whoa. But yeah, but do you guys want to talk about the Adrienette, from what we've seen in season 6 so far?
Yes, dear writer, stop with the creepy, stalky behavior. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. I agree. It's just, yeah, it's like, why do they still keep that part of her behavior around? She's dating Adrien. um, but I think like I think how about let's start with Illustrator, because that was like the first episode that premiered, here in the US on Disney Channel. So I think I have to say their moments in that episode's like pretty cute. Like Meredith's like, oh yeah, you and Nino need to accompany, so that way I know how to behave around Adrien. And as soon as like after the intro, like they go meet up with their boyfriends, and then you just see Marinette just like slap and like poke his nose, and Adrien just like he doesn't question it. It's like, oh, it's just my girlfriend just being quirky as she always does. um, and I find it just adorable because it's like Meredith's just trying to get used to being like an actual couple with Adrien, and it's like and everything. And of course we get like because I think it was like I think it was Smarty Pants video when he did his like episode review of Illustrator, and he's like, it was I forgot who it was, but I think it was Smarty Pants. But I think someone mentioned that like, oh, if I was Adrian, I would have just left if my girlfriend just kept disappearing on me.
Yes, Smarty Pants, it was. I think it was as well. I said the same thing, but I think I cut it out in my video. I genuinely can't remember. But I would have left as well. Like, hello, why am I waiting for 3 hours and you're not here?
like Adrian is like you have to admit Adrian is like an angel and a saint for having that patience. Like I agree with you. If I was in Adrian's shoes, I would have just left. If my girlfriend was like just gone, just disappears or quote unquote like just ghosts me during a date. But I think another episode we can talk about is in season 6 is Where Papas, because I think that one was very I think the Adrienette moment was very sweet because like Adrian is very nervous to meet both sets of his grandparents from both sides of his family. And Marinette's like, you know what? I'll be there with you, if you feel nervous. And he's like, yeah, it's like, if you can make that happen, I would love to have you there. And I'm like, and Marinette's like, all right, hand the phone to Natalie, right? And then Natalie's like saying, well, only wait staff and family are allowed. And then that's why Marinette dresses as a maid, so that way she can be in the room, as Adrian's support. And and I think a lot of fans misinterpret the scene where they feel like, I think they mentioned that like, oh, Marinette's just making Adrian's decision. I'm like, she's not. Like, she knows what Adrian wants. But like Adrian has been like stuck in this bubble for so long to not be able to say what he wants. And then I remember I commented on your video, Chi, of your analysis of Where Papas, where like I had to explain from my perspective, she had to literally vocally say it for Adrian because Adrian didn't have the courage because he's so used to not being able to say what he wants, and Marinette had to be the one to bring Natalie into the dining room and say, hey, I'm just Adrian's girlfriend, I can't stop his grandparents from taking custody of him, but you're an adult, and she says, and I know, and she's like, I know Adrian well enough to know that he actually wants to stay here with you. And Adrian literally stands up, and then Natalie is like, Adrian's not my son. I have no rights. And it's like, like Marinette was just vocally speaking on Adrian's behalf. She wasn't making the decision for him. Like, she knew what he wanted, but he just didn't want to vocally say it. Like, he didn't know. He didn't have the courage to say it.
On the other side of things, I like the scene where Ladybug was just about to finish things off, and like she had to question herself for a bit. I thought that was an interesting character development.
Yeah, like oh, do you mean the scene where she had to break the twin rings? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that one, that was like a high stake thing because in that moment she was like, she's thinking not just as herself as Ladybug, but as her civilian identity. I feel like she was thinking in both perspectives because she knows the secret. She learned from Felix and Kagami that Adrian is a senti being, which I hate to admit. But she's basically like, oh no, I run the risk of actually killing my boyfriend. Like, that was running through her mind, and that's a scary thought when you think about it. Like, she's like, if I break this, I might accidentally bring the amok out. And I think I also mentioned in my comment on your video, Chi, for Where Papa's, that I saw that scene as like the intention, though. It's the intention. We all know as Marinette as Ladybug has to capture the Akuma and purify it. So all she had to do was think and make sure it's the it's the Akuma that comes out and not the Amok, you know. And that's how I interpreted that scene. But that scene was like, oh my gosh, the struggle is real. Because she's dating her dream guy, and she's like, and she runs the risk of killing it. That's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. Like wouldn't you be like very nervous if you were in Marinette as Ladybug in her position?
Oh no,
Like,
I agree with you. I actually feel for her on that.
like that part is scary. So like I totally understand her like struggle, you know, and 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 like I said, Marinette was like definitely Marinette was definitely a green flag in that episode because she understood what Adrien wanted. He just didn't know how to say it, you know. I would say the other episode, well, Daddy Cup. Adrien was a green flag in that episode. Like if you know what I mean, like literally, like Marinette forgot. Like she planned her 100th kiss thing with Adrien the same night as her girls' movie night with her girlfriends, and she totally forgot. And then Adrien, you know, he's right within earshot and hears this, and then Adrien decides, no, it's like he's like, you should be spending time with your girlfriends because you already made plans with them. And what I love is that even though Marinette gives him like so many plans of how it could work, he's like, is like, this 37th plan of yours is still not going to convince me. And he's like, you should be, is like, if you made plans with other people, you should be spending time with them. And I'm like, green flag, green flag. And everything. And in a way, Marinette learns that, you know, at the end of the episode, you know, where she actually invites Sabrina in, and she's like, she actually apologizes after Sabrina apologizes to the others. She apologizes that I'm so sorry that I was putting too much focus on my relationship with Adrien. I wasn't putting my focus on the people who needed it. And I love how she said, I promise to be more attentive next time. Because the miscommunication in Daddy Cop could have been avoided if the communication was there. If you know what I mean. Like, Marinette was literally trying to, like, discreetly invite Adrien. And then there was a whole misunderstanding because, like, from Zoe's perspective, she's like, oh, Marinette said you are invited, Sabrina. I'm like, the miscommunication's terrible.
I never liked that trope either, especially when it's like a miscommunication that could have easily have been avoided.
Mm-hmm. Like literally when Marinette's like, can we invite one more person? She didn't say it was Adrien, so that was like her trying to be sneaky about it. And then Zoe, and that was also on Zoe's fault as well, because she didn't say Sabrina to Marinette. She asked the other girls, but Alia told Zoe that. I was like, I don't know. It's like, ask Marinette. It is her house after all. It's like, that's true. You gotta ask the person who's hosting, you know? And yeah, Zoe just had the assumption that like Marinette knew who she was talking about. So the miscommunication was just bad in that episode. Like, I'm just smacking my head at the miscommunication. But any final thoughts about Adrienette?
I think I needed to say all I wanted to say about that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the final thing I would say, and it's kind of ending it on a negative note, but I just kind of want to know like your opinion and the general consensus with Adrienette, because a lot of the fandom kind of don't like Adrienette anymore because of how it serves one character over the other character. And what I mean by that is people... So, like, remember at the beginning of this podcast, I said, like, each dynamic in the love square, each ship kind of shows us different nuances about each of the characters. Like, you know, romantic pairings can are great for like the actual romance, but also great to tell us more about these characters, more about their flaws, more about their qualities, their strength, etc. And that's how it started off with Adrienette as well. Like, we learn through Adrienette that Marinette is somebody that's an overthinker, who likes to plan things out, who stresses over the most littlest and tiniest and the most not important details. That's great and everything. However, I feel like a lot of people feel like now the Adrienette has kind of lost its beauty because of the fact that it's more so of Marinette taking on Adrien's battles, and Marinette standing up for Adrien, and Marinette doing this for Adrien and doing that for Adrien, and less about Adrien feeling of being a character, more just being an love interest.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'm hoping season 6 actually gives Adrien some, nuance, and like actually him, in order to have like a healthy relationship, you need to have that balance. It can't just be always one over the other. Like, I'm hoping like in season 6 they kind of have Adrien take the reins, and that way it would be a great counterbalance, to Marinette, taking the reins in the relationship. Because so far we've seen Marinette, mostly taking the reins in the relationship. So I'm hoping the writers listen and actually have at times have Adrien take the reins in their relationship. But but you could say Adrienette is like a culmination of everything. Them, with the vulnerability with the Marichat ship, their admiration for each other with the Ladrien, and of course with the LadyNoir is having trust and teamwork to work at their relationship.
Right.
So I kind of feel like Adrienette brings all of that together into their, like from the other 3 ships. I think it's like a culmination, and I hope we see more of that, in season 6 going forward, season 6 and onward and stuff. So yeah, those are my final thoughts.
and hopefully they stop with the creepy dog behavior.
Yeah, please, writers, get rid of that. Like, she's already dating. You already put her canonically, officially dating Adrien. Please get rid of that part of her. It's not appealing. And the only thing I hate is that they sugarcoat it. Like, they think it's because it's a cartoon show, it's cute. It's like, no, it's not.
It gets old very fast.
Exactly. Any final thoughts? Kevin?
Nope.
All right. Looks like that's the end of this 9th episode of the Lucky Charm podcast for Adrienette the Love Square. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank Kevin and G here as we get to discuss each ship's dynamic in the Love Square, because this is such an interesting topic to talk about, because each ship, when you think of Love Square, you think it's 4 different characters, but in this show, it's like the same 2 characters, but different dynamics. And in concept, it's very brilliant. And everything. So I think that's what's brilliant about what they do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all right, looks like we are going to end this live stream. Don't forget to tune in this Sunday on March 23, 3 p.m. PT, 6 p.m. ET for the next Goddess Spotlight with Liaserenityrose, episode 33, where myself and Pinky will be doing a Sonic and the Dragon's Pats Q&A. So be sure to tune in to that this Sunday. And of course, it's slowly coming together. The Spring Festival stream schedule for each week is coming soon, so be sure to stay tuned on my socials of when I will be releasing that. And you never know, I may have something miraculous related for Serenity Spring Festival. You never know. So yeah, so this is Liaserenityrose signing out. Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.